Hi guys, it's Jen.
Hey, I'm Joe.
And we are so excited that you're here, that you've purchased the Creative Finance Playbook. And we are just going to give you a little bit of rundown of who we are and what we've been up to the last few years. Well, more than that, actually. And why we love creative finance so much. So we're going to bring it back here to Mr. Joe, who actually did his first deal 20 years ago.
Well, thank you once again and welcome, guys. Yeah, a little history real quick on us and where we came from. I actually was lucky enough to get my hands on one of those late night infomercials that one of my friends bought.
Go ahead, tell him.
That taught him how to buy and sell real estate with no money. I'm at his house and actually it was sitting there and they never even opened it. And I asked if I could borrow it. And he was like, yeah, well, it was expensive. It was a few $100s. I said, I'll give it back. Well, I borrowed it, but the next month later, I actually had my very first deal under contract. And this was a life-changing event. I ended up wholesaling my first deal. I was 22 at the time. By the time I just turned 23, I'm going to the attorney's office doing a double close on a house. So my first house, I only owned it for half an hour.
Mhm.
And the one thing I loved about that whole education, it was a series of cassette tapes and
There we go.
VCR tapes and a book. And this was the year 2000.
There was no online studying like this. So you guys are truly given a gift nowadays. Back then, they were cassettes and VHS tapes, but for sure, he still put in the work and using no money out of pocket.
None. Well, which is perfect because I actually had no money and I had bad credit back then. I was 22, 23 years old. And so this says you don't need money or credit. So it was right on my alley and the stuff worked. So after that, I really fell in love with real estate. And once I I made $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got all the fees out and all the attorney stuff, I walked away with a check for $12,733 and some change.
At 23?
At 23, just turned 23. So the neat thing about it was when my attorney called me, says, "Do you want to come pick this up at the office or do you want to drive out, or have it mailed?" I was like, "I'll be there right away."
For sure.
So that was an exciting day. And then fast forward, I meet Jen right in the very, very beginning of 2008.
Yeah. And in between there, you chose to get into the car business for a little bit though. So before we met, you flipped this house, but due to wanting to get some health insurance and a little bit more reassurance in your job force, then you chose to jump on board with that.
And I had a job
and learned so much.
Learned a ton. And with that being the case, after sales for a few years, I got into finance in 2005. I started meeting a lot of folks at banks. I started really saving a lot of money. And then fast forward now until 2008. And I've always been keeping my eyes peeled for real estate. And then I find Jen finds me, we start dating. And then shortly after, I'm looking at another house, which was kind of confusing at the time because I already owned my own house.
And I owned mine.
And Jen owned her own. So she was asking me, why are you buying another house?
This was before HGTV and all of the fun shows like that. So at first I was confused because I was an English teacher. I went to school to teach 7th through 12th English, and I absolutely loved it. And that was my day job for the time being. And so from 2003 to 2011, that's what I did. But yeah, 2008, we meet in January, and by September, he's saying he's buying another house. And it wasn't a pretty house at the time.
Well, if you followed real estate in 2008 when they had a big crash, we were able to find a lot of deals and some really good bargains.
Yeah.
So in 2008, 9, 10, 11, we get married in 2010, but in the meantime, we're buying houses and finding some really great bargains. And that's really what started, I would say, our journey on this.
Yeah. And that was the old way that we used to do it.
So we didn't know what BRRRR was back in the day,
but we
were BRRRRing in 2008. We would buy it with cash, we would renovate it, we would rent it, and then we would refinance out of it. So then what we were doing is we were using credit, we were using a lot of our own cash. And so all of the things that I learned not to do is exactly what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we were looking to scale. And I would say that was actually one of the hardest points was scaling.
Yeah.
Because of that.
I would say too, by this point, your job became really demanding. We started having children and your time was like zilch, the demanding hours and just, working for somebody else. It wasn't our goal. It wasn't the path that we wanted to take. And we realized that, banks were going to cut us off. So From those, so kind of give you a background, from 2008 to 2017, we had purchased 5 properties, like Joe just mentioned. We had gone through the banks, we did all of that. But in 2017, our lives changed for the better. It was the most insane summer to date, changing those 5 properties from regular rentals to rent to own. But from there on out, we decided to really stick with this rent to own process.
And really, it was the summer of 2016. It was all of the preparing that
Yeah.
we were doing
Took
in
us
2017 to actually start executing our game plan. And that's when everything changed that year. That was a really big year for us. My job was still getting more and more complicated with more
Mhm.
hours and weekends and things like that.
We had 2 kids under 2, 3, I don't even know, diapers, you name it. It was crazy, but we know we made it happen. And that first deal, it's all it takes. Everyone says it takes that first deal. And
Mhm.
it was really true for us. We happened to do a yellow letter campaign, and we came across a gentleman who had inherited his grandfather's house, and he owned it free and clear. So we just took it over on monthly payments. And we saw that. And this is a picture of Joe here holding that agreement.
So this is us now buying properties using creative finance terms like seller finance, wraparound mortgages. They're subject to, there's sandwich lease purchases. There's so many ways. This is a contract you could see right here that we did with a 0% mortgage. So I got home and, funny story was I met the gentleman at McDonald's, not a big fancy office. We signed, he okayed the paperwork, the agreement. And after this, it was turning it to the attorney's office and setting up a closing date. But this was a deal where it was $100 down. So it's money down, but $100. We paid for the closing costs, which were a few $1,000s. And now we own real estate with a 0% mortgage, guys. So this was a huge day for us
Game changer.
because now we knew that we can do it. And this is actually still one of the houses we own. It's a great deal.
Mhm.
So we love that. And then after that, we started buying quite a bit of houses like this. Once we realized there's no more going to the bank
Yeah.
and there's no more having to come up with 20% down and all these other things. So it really changed.
Yep. So today, I can't even count. Sounds crazy, but we've definitely done a lot of deals this way. And, we're buying them, like Joe just mentioned, seller financing, wraparound mortgages, sandwich lease. And that's all of the fun stuff we're going to teach you here in this course. And we are so excited to dive into those a little bit deeper, to walk you through each deal, how it's structured, the breakdown, why we chose to do certain things, and just to keep it simple, because there's a lot of noise out there when it comes to real estate. I'm talking a lot of noise.
Right.
And so if you can just stay laser focused on creative financing and finding deals the way that we're going to teach you, you're going to really see your business absolutely explode if that's what you want to do. The beautiful thing was, we took it slow from 2017 till 2020. We only bought a couple, like 6 more properties. And that was because of the full-time job. The kids were at home. And this was going to be last year, or this year actually, it was going to be the year that the kids went off to school, and I was going to really get into it. And we'll get into that a little bit more later, but we actually have just completely blown this up for ourselves because it allows you to. But if you just want to do one property a year, that will still change your life and generations to come. So it just depends on how much you want to do. The sky's the limit, like Joe said.
Well, and the neat thing about it is maybe it's not even just one house a year. Maybe it's your own house.
Yeah.
There's a testimonial I did with one of our friends who actually learned how we do this and bought his very first house with his wife using creative finance. No banks, no credit was pulled, a couple thousand out of pocket, and they're homeowners now. So maybe it's not just your own, or maybe it's not just a rental or an investment property.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your own house too. So this works great. And once you realize all the concepts that we're going to go over in this program, you're going to realize that the sky is the limit, and you could buy as much or as little real estate as you want. And you're going to help people too. This is the main thing about what we do is we're going to be problem solvers and offer things that really no other investors can offer. So it's a really unique strategy too.
Absolutely. And I just threw up a couple of photos here of recent houses that we've acquired. And all 3 of these are homes that have mortgages on them when the sellers just wanted to walk away. And I hate to say we have a favorite, but she's definitely up there. Our seller, Natasha, here in the Nike shirt, she is such a sweetheart. She was so ecstatic. And I know, Joe, you definitely had a lot of good conversations with her.
Yeah, she was fantastic. And just, being a homeowner sometimes for all folks is not always what it's cut out to be. And sometimes, you're in over your head. You've got job, you've got family, you've got a lot of stuff going on. And it just really wasn't meant to be. And she just bought the property too and realized this wasn't for her. So we ended up really actually giving her quite a bit of a deal that she was so happy that once we walk out of the attorney's office, she did a testimonial video and was like just so happy. She was thrilled, and we were thrilled to help her out too, and now help one of our tenant buyers who are going to own that property down the road. So once again, we help out multiple people by doing this.
It's just crazy. And I think, obviously the paychecks are nice and we're going to share those and get into that too. But this is a people business. And, we love working with folks who want to work with us.
Right.
And that is what is most important to us. And so it's almost like a big happy family. If you look at it, the sellers are happy, we're happy, the buyers, rent to own, people who have some bad credit or just need a little more time to qualify. This is for them. And so you're really helping so many people if you really take a step back and look at it.
Yeah. And it's just fun being a part of the process too. Like Jenn says, the checks are great, but really helping people get what they want is wonderful. And they always say,
sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say no more landlord duties for us, but yeah, I love the quote you're going to share.
Well, you could always get in life what you want by helping enough other people get what they want. So it'll help you, you'll come to you, but helping folks. And that's really what's awesome about it. Yeah. So we're going to dive into that and all the details, like Jenn said, and really break it down so you understand how we can make this work out for a seller, work out for us and for our buyers too. And that's the name of the game. And if you do real estate right, everyone should win.
Absolutely. And these modules we've broken down really simply. You'll have your PDF files. We're going to keep them, short in some segments, and some might be a little bit longer. And I know some of them you might need to watch 4 or 5 times. Like I know for me, when I was learning all the different terms, it took a little while, and that's okay. And that's why the beauty of this program is you can watch it as many times as you need to.
And I will say, guys, the scripts that you're getting in here are the scripts that we use and our team is currently using and making deals easily with these scripts. And a lot of times you have to know when to ask the right questions. And you'll notice I'll say when to ask the right questions. That's very important sequence I just laid there for you. So we're going to really dive into that and take all the thinking out of it. So whether it's you or you want to have a team with you, these are the scripts that you're going to use, get back some answers, and it walks you right through the process. So we try to make it as easy as possible and not overly complicated.
I was just going to say that don't make it harder on yourselves. Just follow the script, follow the recipes to a T, and you are going to be flying high. Make sure you have your notebook in hand and your pen ready, because it is time to change your real estate game here with Creative Finance.
And I will say, guys and girls, if you could do me one favor, the scripts are amazing. Just stick to the script. It's that simple. You're going to really enjoy them, but they're going to be there to help you ask, like we said.
Yep.
You're going to love it.
All right. So I wish you the best of luck here and have fun while you're doing it, because the joy is in the journey.
Absolutely, guys.
So play on, Creative Finance Players.